The Seven Words. In the quiet town of Elderglow, nestled between whispering pines and a river that sang secrets to the moon, lived a woman named Elara. She was 35, with eyes that held the weight of unspoken stories and a smile that flickered like a candle in a storm. Elara was a librarian, tending to the town's modest library where she found solace in the pages of old books. But beneath her gentle demeanor lay a heart tethered to a past she couldn't fully release, a past where her inner child, wounded and silent, still lingered. Ilara's childhood had been a tapestry of light and shadow. Her mother, a painter with a fiery spirit, filled their home with vibrant colors but also unpredictable storms of anger. Her father, a quiet man who worked long hours at the mill, was a ghost in her life, present but unreachable. Elara, the only child, learned early to tiptoe around her mother's moods and to seek comfort in her own imagination. She built worlds in her mind, castles of starlight, forests where she was brave and free. But those worlds couldn't shield her from the moments when her mother's sharp words cut deep, or when her father's absence left her feeling invisible. "You're too sensitive," her mother would snap. "Why can't you just be stronger?" Those words clung to Elara like damp fog settling into her bones. Now, as an adult, Elara carried a quiet ache. She was kind, but she doubted her worth. She was capable, but she feared her own voice. She loved her life in Elderglow, yet she felt a hollowness she couldn't name. It was as if a part of her, a small, fragile part, was still waiting for someone to see her, to tell her she was enough. One autumn evening, as the library's oak doors creaked shut and the last patrons left with their borrowed stories, Elara found something unusual. Tucked between two dusty tomes on psychology, books she'd shelved countless times, was a slim, leather-bound journal. Its cover was embossed with a spiral, and it bore no title or author. Curious, she opened it. The first page held a single sentence in elegant, looping script. "To heal the child within, speak these 7 words." Below it, a list of 7 phrases, each simple yet profound, followed by a note. Speak them to yourself and listen. Elara frowned, intrigued but skeptical. The journal felt alive in her hands, its pages warm as if kissed by sunlight. She glanced around the empty library, half expecting someone to claim the book, but the only sound was the soft rustle of leaves outside. She read the first phrase aloud, her voice barely a whisper. "You are enough." The words hung in the air, fragile yet heavy. Elara's chest tightened. She wanted to believe them, but doubt crept in, a familiar shadow. She closed the journal and slipped it into her bag, telling herself she'd read more later. That night, as she lay in her small cottage, the words echoed in her mind. "You are enough." They felt like a key to a door she hadn't dared to open. The next morning, Elara returned to the library, the journal burning a hole in her thoughts. She opened it again, this time in the quiet of the reading room, where sunlight streamed through stained glass windows. The second phrase caught her eye. "Your feelings matter." She spoke it softly, and a memory surfaced. A day when she was 8, crying over a broken toy, her mother's voice sharp. "Stop being so dramatic." Elara had swallowed her tears then, believing her emotions were a burden. Now, as she repeated the phrase, a warmth spread through her, like a hand gently lifting that long-ago child. Over the next week, Elara made a ritual of reading 1 phrase each day. The third was, "You are safe now." She spoke it while walking along the river, the water's gentle flow mirroring her breath. She remembered nights as a child, lying awake, fearing her mother's next outburst. The words felt like a shield, promising protection she hadn't known she needed. The fourth phrase, "You are worthy of love," was harder. Elara stood before her mirror, her reflection a stranger. She thought of her father, who never hugged her, who never said he loved her. The words caught in her throat, but she forced them out, her voice trembling. Tears fell, and she let them, feeling the weight of years begin to shift. On the fifth day, she read, "Your voice is heard." At the library, she tested this by speaking up during a town meeting about expanding the library's hours. Her hands shook, but she spoke, and to her surprise, people listened. The mayor nodded, and a neighbor smiled. Elara felt a spark of courage, a whisper from the child within who had always wanted to be heard. The sixth phrase, "You can trust yourself," came during a storm. Thunder rattled the cottage, and Elara, who had always feared storms, sat by her window, journal in hand. She thought of all the times she'd doubted her choices, second-guessing her instincts to avoid her mother's disapproval. Saying the words aloud, she felt a quiet strength bloom, as if her younger self was nodding in agreement. The seventh and final phrase was, "You are whole." Elara read it on a crisp morning, sitting beneath an ancient oak in the town square. The words settled into her like roots sinking into earth. She saw herself not as broken or lacking, but as a mosaic of light and shadow, pain and joy. She thought of Carl Jung, whose books she'd read in the library, his ideas about the inner child, the shadow, the journey to wholeness. These 7 words, so simple, were like lanterns lighting the path to that wholeness. But the journal's magic didn't end there. That evening, as Elara sat in the library, a girl of about 10 slipped through the doors. Her name was Lila, a regular who loved fantasy novels but rarely spoke. Lila's eyes were downcast, her shoulders hunched. Elara recognized that look, the weight of a child carrying too much. On impulse, Elara invited Lila to sit with her. "Can I share something with you?" she asked, opening the journal. She read the first phrase aloud, "You are enough." Lila's eyes widened, and though she said nothing, a small smile flickered. Over the next weeks, Elara shared the phrases with Lila, one by one. They became a quiet ritual, a bridge between them. Lila began to talk more, sharing stories of her own. A father who was often away, a mother who was always tired. Elara listened, and in doing so, she healed a part of herself. She realized the journal wasn't just for her. It was a gift to be shared, a way to mend the inner children of others. One day, Lila arrived with a drawing, a vibrant sketch of a girl standing in a forest of stars holding a glowing lantern. "It's you," Lila said shyly. "You're like the light in the stories." Elara's heart swelled. She saw herself in Lila, and in that moment, she understood. Healing her inner child wasn't just about her own journey. It was about holding space for others, about passing on the words that had set her free. Years later, the journal remained in the library, its pages worn but still warm to the touch. Elara, now a beloved figure in Elderglow, shared its words with anyone who needed them. Children, adults, strangers passing through. The 7 simple words became a quiet legend in the town, a reminder that healing begins with seeing the child within, with speaking words of love and truth. And Elara? She no longer felt hollow. She laughed freely and loved fiercely.